The jury's out on how close we actually are to world peace, or world annihilation for that matter, but most of us agree it's probably a good idea for our leaders to have a place to talk things out. We should get them all in one room and encourage a calm, rational discussion about how best to share our precious little planet. But until that place exists, I guess we'll just settle for the United Nations. What's happening? I'm your host, the Notorious Nick, and this is your world.
I can't breathe. Please stop him.
No, I'd like to, but I'm afraid he has diplomatic immunity.
Most meetings of the UN General Assemblies are pretty dull and routine, but when all the world leaders are together in one room, you can always expect the unexpected. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button in the right-hand corner and subscribe to our channel for even more. Let us know what you think of this video by leaving a comment. Disclaimer! The suits also wanted me to mention that this is a parody, and we do not endorse or oppose any elected officials or world leaders. We satirize them all equally, and they give us plenty to discuss. So please take your seats and let us take the podium to tell you what happened. Trump. Whether you idolize him or despise him, you have to admit that Donald Trump has a flair for the dramatic. His first address to the UN was full of spit and vinegar, and he said that parts of the world were even going to hell. He had nothing nice to say about Iran, but directed most of his remarks toward North Korea, even saying that Kim Jong-un was going on a suicide mission, and mockingly referred to him as Rocket Man.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
So we asked Sir Elton John to comment, but he did not return our calls. As you might know, Vince McMahon personally inducted Donald Trump into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2013.
Vince and I have had an amazing relationship for many years.
And Linda McMahon served on Trump's cabinet. Perhaps his seemingly unorthodox public behaviors might simply be the actions of a heel wrestler popping for a little cheap heat. We're not sure what kind of finishing move he'd use in the squared circle, but the Donald certainly knows how to get the crowd on their feet. Maybe he should have appointed Bobby the Brain Heenan as chief of staff. Obama. In the interest of equal time, we looked for something to mock about Obama's addresses to the UN, but he didn't give us much ammo. Obama was well known for his use of the teleprompter when he made speeches, and generally presented a calm and even-tempered demeanor at the podium. But he too was no stranger to an off-cuff remark, and could quickly think on his feet when reporters threw him a curveball.
I have to know, what is it like to be the last black president?
Seriously? What's it like for this to be the last time you ever talked to a president?
In 2013, Obama addressed the UNGA and stressed the importance of preventing Iran from developing nuclear weapons. Then he got the call. Iranian leader Hassan Rouhani contacted Barack Obama by telephone a few days later. It was the first conversation between the US and Iran in over 3 decades.
The two of us discussed our ongoing efforts to reach an agreement over Iran's nuclear program.
And many considered it a first step toward a nuclear deal with Iran. I'm pretty sure that we all know how it feels to get ghosted. Maybe addressing the UN might finally get that girl to call you back. Ahmedinejad. In 2010, George W. Bush addressed the UNGA for the final time during his presidency, but the big star of the show that day was Iran leader Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Diplomatic relations between the United States and Iran have never been great, and Mr. Ahmadinejad, Mahmoud to his friends, didn't seem to have too many nice things to say about Ol 43. He made several outrageous claims, including accusations that the US was behind 9/11. And that Europe was using the Holocaust to generate support for Israel. His wild remarks prompted several walkouts by delegates from foreign countries and flat out harshed everyone's buzz. Rumors have it that Ahmadinejad is a deeply sensitive man, and that the walkouts hurt his feelings.
Do not be afraid of
this man. Look at him. He looks like a hairy little hobbit who got a part on Miami Vice.
He worked a long time on his speech, but was under a lot of pressure, and you can only go over it so many times in front of the mirror before you need a live audience. Take it from me, Mahmoud. You'd better stay away from stand-up comedy. Gaddafi. People who were around for the Reagan years will remember when the president was on all 3 channels discussing our old pal Muammar Gaddafi. The dude drew a line on a map and dared anyone to cross it. And our old pal Ronnie made it his business to do exactly that. So he drew a different line a bit closer to Libya's borders, and everyone got their TVs back. In 2009, Gaddafi was back in the news when he made his long-awaited debut at the UNGA. He was introduced as King of Kings and proceeded to talk for 96 minutes. He discussed just about everything under the sun except where he bought that great outfit. He had some nice things to say about Obama and even suggested that Israel and Palestine form a sovereign nation known as Israelstein. And for maximum effect, he ripped out pages of the UN Charter before tossing the book over his shoulder.
I'm here today to apologize for my speech on Wednesday. He was just so long and so rambly.
Rumor has it that Gaddafi even started using the UN Charter as toilet paper in his home. Chavez. It's hard not to love George W. Bush these days, as he pals around with Michelle Obama and does those great watercolor paintings. But in 2006, Venezuelan leader Hugo Chavez took to the UNGA podium the day after W and had some mean things to say. He said that Bush was, quote, talking as if he owned the world, and even referred to him as the devil multiple times during his remarks. He wrapped up his comments by making the sign of the cross, spectacles, testicles, watch, wallet, and that the lectern smelled of sulfur.
And it smells of sulfur still today.
We reached out to the actual devil for comment, but his assistant said that he's currently too backed up with the Masked Singer. Maybe next time, that show can't last forever. Please. Castro. We can't say for sure that Fidel Castro's speech to the UNGA in 1960 was the craziest, but it definitely was the longest.
That's all right. There are only 5 TV sets in the whole country. And 2 of them don't have sound.
The Cuban leader spoke for 269 minutes and discussed his distaste for American aggression and imperialism. The United States felt obligated to respond by submitting a fact sheet to the Secretary General refuting Castro's claims, and by also disinviting him to any future golf outings with President Eisenhower. That'll show him. What many people don't know is that before Fidel got himself into government overthrowing businesses, he allegedly had a pretty unhittable fastball. There were even rumors that he tried out for the Washington Senators. And yes, the rumors have been discredited, but a lot of us Americans are thinking, if only. The Senators struggled pretty mightily in the late 50s and were relocated to Minnesota in 1960. So maybe Fidel and his 99-mile-per-hour heater could have changed their fate. And as a bonus, we could have avoided that inconvenient missile crisis. W. When you gotta go, right? In 2005, a Reuters photographer inadvertently photographed President George W. Bush, passing a note to Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, saying that he might need a bathroom break. The image was verified and quickly went viral on the internet. Social media was just getting started, and good old W teed that one up nicely for the bloggers.
Shame on you. It fooled me, we can't get fooled again.
The September 11 attacks occurred early in Bush's presidency, and the poor guy never seemed to get a break. And to add insult to injury, in 2008, an Iraqi journalist even threw his shoes at Bush during a press conference. The president's reaction to 9/11 might have been criticized, but you have to admit, his reaction to the shoes was pretty damn impressive. Eat your heart out, Neo. Khrushchev. Speaking of shoes, in 1960, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev was at the lectern being criticized by a member of the Philippines delegation. Filipino delegate Lorenzo Sumalong accused the Soviets of depriving Eastern Europeans of their political and civil rights, and stated that the Soviet Union was swallowing up sovereign nations. In response, Khrushchev reportedly removed his shoe and threatened Sumalong with it, banging it on the lectern to make his point. Now, unruly children have been disciplined by angry mothers wielding footwear for generations, and the very sight of mom's favorite slipper still strikes fear into the hearts of many. Maybe Khrushchev was onto something. Idi Amin. Ugandan President Idi Amin was under fire for his reputation for ruthlessness and genocide in his country. When he addressed the UNGA in 1975, he was there to present his side of the story. During his remarks, he was offering praise to British Prime Minister Edward Heath and compared him to Adolf Hitler. His remarks caught the attention of a German correspondent who asked him for some more details. Amin appeared to realize his mistake and corrected himself by saying that he meant to compare Heath to Winston Churchill. But Idi Amin had previously authored a letter praising Hitler for his efforts to exterminate the Jews in the Holocaust, but indicated that he didn't want to, quote, quarrel with his friends. If he was trying to work on his image, that little Freudian slip might have slowed his progress. Netanyahu. Iran's development of nuclear weapons has drawn harsh criticism, and in 2012, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pleaded with the UN to draw a clear red line to stop their efforts. He even brought a cartoon illustration of a bomb to make his point. Most of us are accustomed to seeing fundraising thermometers during the annual public television pledge drive. Maybe if they switched to a bomb, it would get the phone banks to blow up. Arafat. Foreign policy often involves carrots and sticks.
That's a marvelous, marvelous hat you've got on. Who designed this? Isn't that nice?
But Yasser Arafat of the Palestinian Liberation Organization addressed the UN General Assembly in 1974 and said that he was, quote, bearing an olive branch and a freedom fighter's gun, adding a warning not to let the olive branch fall from his hands. He also called for the establishment of a Palestinian state that would welcome Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Nearly 5 decades later, we don't really seem to be any closer to a Palestinian state. Arafat also implied more guerrilla violence if his message of healing and reconciliation wasn't heeded. Many of those predictions have unfortunately come true, but you don't exactly have to be Nostradamus to predict violence and instability in the Middle East. Okay, everyone put their shoes back on. We hope you enjoyed this look of some of the madness that takes place at the UN over the years. None of us are as crazy as all of us, and it's probably better off if our leaders act a fool in the General Assembly if it can stop some wars. So let's discuss. Now you have the floor. Is there any UNGA craziness that we didn't mention? Please let us know. Leave no stone unturned when it comes to finding world leaders to mock. And if we forgot one, we'll be happy to get them in our sights in the future. We read every comment and love to hear from our viewers. Don't forget to also hit the like and subscribe buttons, and come back often so we can tell you what happened.